My name is Simone, and for years, I poured my heart and soul into my career at one of Washington D.C.'s most prestigious law firms. I was 32, ambitious, and believed in the power of justice, a principle that had guided me since my earliest days. The firm, Sterling Finch, was known for its rigorous standards and formidable reputation. I had always understood that success in such an environment demanded relentless dedication and an unwavering commitment to excellence. From the moment I first walked through its grand, oak doors, I was determined to prove my worth and carve out my own path. Every late night and early morning was an investment in my future. My journey at Sterling Finch began as a junior associate, fresh out of law school, brimming with idealism and a fierce desire to make a difference. The initial years were a blur of research, brief writing, and long hours spent meticulously preparing for cases. I absorbed every lesson, eager to learn from the seasoned attorneys around me. I quickly gained a reputation for my sharp analytical skills and my ability to dissect complex legal issues with remarkable clarity. Colleagues often sought my input on intricate cases, recognizing my knack for identifying crucial details others might overlook. My work ethic was undeniable, and I prided myself on delivering consistent, high-quality results. Despite the demanding nature of the work, I found immense satisfaction in the intellectual challenge and the tangible impact of my contributions. Each successful case, each positive outcome for a client, reinforced my belief that I was exactly where I was meant to be. I was building a solid foundation for a promising career. However, even in this seemingly meritocratic environment, I couldn't ignore the subtle undercurrents of an unspoken reality. I was often the only black woman in the room during high-level meetings, a fact that sometimes felt like an invisible spotlight. It was a constant reminder of the unique challenges I faced. I observed how different opportunities seemed to flow more easily to some colleagues, while I often had to work twice as hard to gain the same recognition. These observations fueled my resolve, pushing me to excel even further. I was determined not to let anything deter my progress. My focus remained steadfastly on my performance, believing that my results would ultimately speak for themselves, louder than any prejudice. I trusted that my talent and dedication would eventually break through any barriers. This conviction became my shield and my driving force. I made it a point to build strong professional relationships, offering help where I could and learning from everyone. I understood the importance of networking, not just for career advancement, but for fostering a supportive community within the competitive legal landscape. These connections would later prove invaluable. I often found myself reflecting on the path that had led me to this point, remembering the sacrifices my family had made for my education. Their unwavering support was a constant source of strength and motivation. I carried their hopes and dreams with me into every courtroom and every negotiation. My parents had always instilled in me the values of perseverance, integrity, and standing up for what is right, even when it is difficult. These lessons were deeply ingrained in my character, shaping my approach to both my personal and professional life. They taught me to never compromise my principles. I learned to navigate the subtle nuances of the firm's culture, understanding when to speak up and when to observe. This strategic approach allowed me to gather insights and build a comprehensive understanding of the internal dynamics. I knew that knowledge was power in this environment. I was committed to being a role model for others who might come after me, proving that excellence knows no racial boundaries. My presence in such a prominent firm was, in itself, a statement. I wanted to open doors and create pathways for future generations. This early period was crucial for my development, not just as a lawyer, but as a person. It taught me resilience, adaptability, and the importance of self-belief in the face of adversity. I was forging my identity in the crucible of a demanding profession. I was ready for the next step, for the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead, confident in my abilities and prepared to embrace whatever came my way. My journey at Sterling Finch was just beginning, and I was eager to see where it would lead. As the years passed, my contributions to Sterling Finch became increasingly significant, and I steadily climbed the ladder, earning the respect of many senior partners. I consistently exceeded expectations, taking on complex cases and delivering favorable outcomes for our clients. My reputation as a rising star was undeniable. I specialized in corporate litigation, a demanding field that required meticulous attention to detail and sharp strategic thinking. My success rate spoke volumes, and I was often assigned to high-profile cases that directly impacted the firm's bottom line. I thrived under the pressure, finding clarity in complexity. My direct manager, Mr. Davies, a senior partner known for his sharp intellect and even sharper demeanor, initially seemed to appreciate my work. He would often praise my briefs and team meetings, acknowledging my efficiency and the thoroughness of my research. His commendations felt like validation. However, beneath the surface of his professional praise, I began to notice a subtle shift in his interactions with me compared to my white male counterparts. There were instances where my ideas, once dismissed, would later be lauded when presented by a male colleague. It was a pattern that slowly emerged. He would sometimes make offhand comments about my natural rhythm or instinctive understanding of certain issues, phrases that felt less like compliments and more like thinly veiled stereotypes. These remarks, though seemingly innocuous, chipped away at the recognition of my intellectual rigor. During client meetings, he would occasionally interrupt me or redirect questions to other team members, even when I was the primary expert on a particular aspect of the case. It was a subtle way of undermining my authority and presence in the room, making me feel invisible. I also noticed that while he was quick to offer constructive criticism to others, his feedback to me often felt more like a general assessment of my potential rather than specific guidance for improvement. It was as if he saw me through a different lens, one that limited my perceived capabilities. Despite these subtle slights, I refused to let them deter my focus or diminish my drive. I understood that proving myself meant consistently outperforming, leaving no room for doubt about my competence or dedication. My work became my most powerful rebuttal. I sought out mentors from other departments, particularly women and people of color, who offered invaluable advice on navigating the unspoken rules of the corporate world. Their guidance helped me to contextualize Mr. Davies' behavior and develop strategies for self-advocacy. I meticulously documented my achievements, keeping a detailed record of every case I won, every client I satisfied, and every initiative I led. This personal dossier became a testament to my contributions, a factual counterpoint to any subjective biases. My commitment to the firm was unwavering, and I genuinely enjoyed the intellectual challenges and the camaraderie with many of my colleagues. I believe that by continuing to excel, I could eventually break through the invisible ceiling that seemed to hover above me. I learned to observe and analyze the power dynamics within the firm, understanding that success was not just about legal acumen, but also about strategic positioning. I became adept at anticipating challenges and preparing for them, both professionally and personally. I often thought about the generations of Black women who had fought for their place in professions like law, and their struggles fueled my determination. I carried their legacy with me, striving to honor their efforts through my own persistence and excellence. The subtle acts of discrimination, though frustrating, also sharpened my resolve and honed my ability to advocate for myself. They taught me to trust my instincts and to recognize when I was being unfairly judged. This self-awareness was a powerful tool. I was ready for the next phase of my career, confident that my hard work and proven track record would soon lead to the recognition I deserved. The whispers of a promotion were growing louder, promising a new chapter of leadership and influence. The culmination of my efforts seemed to be within reach when the whispers of a promotion turned into concrete discussions. Mr. Davies himself called me into his office, a rare and significant gesture, to formally discuss my advancement to Senior Counsel. My heart swelled with a mix of anticipation and pride. He outlined the new responsibilities, the increased salary, and the clearer path to partnership that this promotion would entail. He spoke of my invaluable contributions and how I was a key asset to the firm's future. His words, though somewhat generic, still resonated deeply. I listened intently, picturing myself in this new role, leading larger teams and taking on even more complex cases. This was the recognition I had worked tirelessly for, the validation of years spent proving my capabilities in a challenging environment. It felt like a dream unfolding. Mr. Davies emphasized that the promotion was contingent on a final review by the managing partners, a standard procedure, but he assured me it was merely a formality. "Your record speaks for itself, Simone," he stated, leaning back in his leather chair with a confident smile. "Consider it done." I left his office feeling elated, a profound sense of accomplishment washing over me. I immediately called my parents to share the exciting news, their joyous reactions echoing my own. It was a moment of shared triumph, a testament to our collective journey. Over the next few days, I found myself walking with a lighter step, a renewed sense of purpose invigorating my every task. I began mentally preparing for the transition, envisioning the new challenges and opportunities that awaited me in my elevated role. I even started to imagine how this promotion would allow me to mentor younger associates, particularly those from underrepresented backgrounds, and help them navigate the complexities of the legal world. I wanted to pay it forward, to be the support I sometimes wished I had. My colleagues offered their congratulations, some genuinely, others with a hint of envy, but all acknowledged that the promotion was well-deserved. The atmosphere around me felt charged with positive energy, reflecting my own optimism. I began to feel a deeper sense of belonging at Sterling and Finch, believing that the firm was finally recognizing my full potential beyond any superficial characteristics. It felt like a true meritocracy was finally at play, rewarding hard work and talent. I even allowed myself to believe that perhaps my earlier observations about subtle biases were overblown, or that Mr. Davies had genuinely evolved in his perspective. Hope, after all, can be a powerful lens through which to view the world. I started planning small celebrations with friends and family, eager to mark this significant milestone in my professional life. It was a moment to acknowledge the journey and look forward to the exciting future ahead. The promotion felt like a validation of not just my legal skills, but also my resilience and determination to overcome obstacles. It was a symbol of breaking through barriers and achieving what many might have thought impossible. I was ready to embrace the increased responsibilities and the heightened expectations that came with the new title. I saw it as an opportunity to further hone my leadership skills and contribute even more significantly to the firm's success. The future seemed bright and full of promise, a clear path laid out before me, leading towards greater influence and impact within the legal community. I was on the cusp of a new chapter, eager to turn the page. I was Simone, a rising star at Sterling and Finch, days away from a promotion that would solidify my position and open doors to even greater achievements. Little did I know, a storm was brewing just beneath the calm surface. The morning of what was supposed to be my final review before the promotion, I arrived at the office with a spring in my step, dressed in my sharpest suit. Instead of the anticipated celebratory meeting, I was called into Mr. Davies' office, his expression unusually grim. A knot formed in my stomach. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Simone," he began, his voice devoid of its usual warmth, "we've had to make some difficult decisions regarding the firm's restructuring. Unfortunately, your position is being eliminated." The words hung in the air, a cold, sharp blade. My mind reeled. Eliminated? But the promotion. I stammered, utterly bewildered. Just days ago, he had assured me it was a formality. His sudden shift in demeanor and explanation felt like a cruel, elaborate joke. He avoided my gaze, shuffling papers on his desk. "It's a strategic move, Simone. Nothing personal. The firm is moving in a different direction, and your skill set, while valuable, no longer aligns with our immediate needs." His excuses were vague, hollow, and utterly unconvincing. I felt a wave of disbelief, then a burning indignation. My skill set? I'm about to be promoted to Senior Counsel. What changed in a matter of days? My voice rose, betraying the composure I desperately tried to maintain. He finally looked at me, his eyes cold and distant. "Look, Simone, let's be frank. While you're competent, we've decided to prioritize a different profile for our senior roles. Someone who fits better with the firm's long-term vision." The unspoken words hung heavy in the air. Someone who isn't black. In that moment, the truth hit me with the force of a physical blow. It wasn't about restructuring or skill sets, it was about my race. The subtle microaggressions, the veiled comments, the sudden dismissal, it all coalesced into a painful, undeniable reality. He was firing me because I was black. My vision blurred, and a raw, primal sense of injustice surged through me. Days before a promotion, after years of unwavering dedication, I was being discarded because of the color of my skin. It was a betrayal that cut deeper than any professional setback. I felt a profound sense of humiliation and anger, not just for myself, but for every Black professional who had faced similar, insidious discrimination. This wasn't just a personal slight, it was a systemic failure, a blatant act of racism. I managed to gather my composure, my voice trembling slightly but firm. I understand, Mr. Davies. I understand perfectly. I stood up, refusing to let him see the full extent of my devastation. My dignity was the last thing he could take from me. As I walked out of his office, the once familiar hallways of Sterling and Finch seemed to mock me, the grand oak doors now feeling like the gates of a gilded cage. Every congratulatory glance from colleagues felt like a fresh wound. I packed my personal belongings in a daze, the weight of the injustice pressing down on me. Each item I placed in the box felt like a piece of my shattered dream. The firm that had once represented my aspirations now symbolized profound betrayal. Leaving the building, the vibrant D.C. streets felt alien, the bustling crowds oblivious to the seismic shift that had just occurred in my life. I was adrift, suddenly unemployed, and grappling with a truth too painful to fully comprehend. The initial shock gave way to a searing anger, a righteous indignation that demanded an outlet. I knew, with every fiber of my being, that I could not let this stand. This wasn't just about my job, it was about justice. My professional world had crumbled, but in its ruins, a new resolve began to harden. Mr. Davies thought he had ended my career, but he had merely ignited a fire within me, a determination to fight back. This was not just an ending, it was an unexpected, painful, but ultimately empowering beginning. I was Simone, and I would not be silenced. The days immediately following my termination were a blur of disbelief and raw emotion. I retreated into myself, the injustice a constant, throbbing ache. The phone calls from concerned colleagues and friends felt like intrusions into my grief. I replayed the conversation with Mr. Davies over and over, dissecting every word, every nuance, confirming the insidious nature of his decision. The casual cruelty of his dismissal, just days before my promotion, felt like a deliberate act of sabotage. The weight of unemployment, combined with the sting of racial discrimination, was almost unbearable. I questioned everything. My judgment, my career choices, even my ability to thrive in a world that seemed so inherently unfair. It was during this dark period that Sarah, a white colleague from the firm whom I had always respected, reached out. She had heard the rumors and was deeply disturbed. Her call was a lifeline in my isolation. "Simone, I don't know what happened, but I know your work," she said, her voice filled with genuine concern. "And I know Mr. Davies. This doesn't add up. There's something more to this, isn't there?" Her words were a balm to my wounded spirit. I hesitated, then poured out the truth, the subtle slights, the veiled comments, the undeniable feeling that my race was the real reason. Sarah listened patiently, her silence a powerful affirmation of my experience. "I've seen it too, Simone," she admitted, her voice low. "Not just with you, but with others. He has a pattern. He's good at hiding it, but it's there. You deserve better than this." Her validation was a turning point. Her unwavering support ignited a spark of defiance within me. I realized I wasn't alone, and that this wasn't just my fight. It was a fight for integrity, for fairness, and for every person who had ever been underestimated or dismissed due to prejudice. "What are you going to do?" Sarah asked. And in that moment, a clear resolve solidified within me. "I'm not going to let him get away with it," I declared, the words ringing with newfound conviction. "I'm going to fight." The decision brought a strange sense of calm amidst the chaos. I began researching employment lawyers specializing in discrimination cases, understanding that this would be a long and arduous battle. I was ready. I meticulously gathered every piece of documentation I had, performance reviews, emails, project reports, and even the subtle comments I had previously dismissed. Every detail became a potential piece of evidence. My parents, though heartbroken by what I had endured, stood firmly behind my decision. "You always fight for what's right, Simone," my mother reminded me. "This is no different." Their faith in me was a powerful motivator. I understood that taking on a powerful law firm and a senior partner like Mr. Davies would be an uphill battle, fraught with emotional and financial challenges. But the alternative, silence, was simply not an option. This was more than just reclaiming my job. It was about reclaiming my dignity and sending a clear message that discrimination would not be tolerated. My resilience was now channeled into a singular, powerful purpose. The despair began to recede, replaced by a fierce determination. I was Simone, and I was ready to turn my pain into purpose, transforming betrayal into a catalyst for justice. The fight had just begun. My search for legal representation led me to a formidable civil rights attorney named Ms. Evelyn Reed, whose reputation for fearlessly taking on powerful institutions preceded her. From our first meeting, I knew she was the right advocate for my cause. Ms. Reed listened intently to my story, her sharp eyes missing nothing. She immediately recognized the patterns of systemic discrimination and the blatant injustice of my termination. "This isn't just about you, Simone," she affirmed. "This is about accountability." Together, we began the arduous process of building a comprehensive case against Sterling and Finch and, more specifically, against Mr. Davies. We meticulously reviewed every document, every email, and every performance review. Sarah, my former colleague, bravely agreed to provide a detailed witness statement recounting her observations of Mr. Davies' discriminatory behavior. Her testimony was invaluable, adding crucial weight to my claims. The firm's initial response was predictable: denial and an attempt to discredit me. Their lawyers painted me as a disgruntled former employee making baseless accusations. They tried to portray my termination as a legitimate business decision. They launched a subtle smear campaign, spreading rumors within the legal community about my difficult personality and unrealistic expectations. It was a classic tactic to undermine my credibility before the case even gained traction. The emotional toll was immense. There were days filled with doubt, moments when the weight of the battle felt overwhelming. But every time I thought of giving up, I remembered Mr. Davies' cold eyes and the injustice he had inflicted. Ms. Reed was a pillar of strength, guiding me through the legal complexities and offering unwavering emotional support. "They want you to give up, Simone," she would say. "Don't give them the satisfaction." We compiled a compelling narrative showcasing my consistent excellence, the abrupt shift in my employment status, and the undeniable pattern of racial bias. We focused on irrefutable facts and documented instances. The financial strain was also a significant challenge, as legal battles can be incredibly expensive. However, I was determined to see this through, drawing on my savings and the support of my family. We prepared for depositions, knowing that Mr. Davies and the firm's leadership would attempt to twist my words and minimize their culpability. I rehearsed my testimony, determined to remain calm and factual under pressure. I learned to separate my emotions from the legal process, focusing on the strategic aspects of the case. This detachment allowed me to approach each step with clarity and precision, strengthening my position. The fight was no longer just about me. It was about exposing a hidden truth within a respected institution. It was about challenging the insidious nature of racial discrimination that often operates in plain sight. I felt a growing sense of empowerment with each piece of evidence we uncovered, each lie we exposed. The truth, I realized, was my most potent weapon against their deception. My resolve hardened with every obstacle. I was Simone, a woman wronged, but now armed with truth and justice, ready to face the public unraveling of Mr. Davies' plan. The stage was set for a powerful confrontation. The day of the preliminary hearing arrived, bringing with it a palpable tension. The courtroom was packed, a mix of legal professionals, journalists, and curious onlookers drawn by the whispers of a discrimination lawsuit against a prominent firm. This was the moment Mr. Davies' plan would truly backfire publicly. As Ms. Reed began her opening statement, she laid out our case with devastating clarity, presenting the meticulously gathered evidence of my stellar performance reviews juxtaposed with the sudden, baseless termination. She painted a vivid picture of systemic bias. Then came the moment for Sarah's testimony. She spoke with quiet conviction, detailing her observations of Mr. Davies' discriminatory remarks and actions, providing crucial corroboration to my claims. Her words resonated powerfully in the silent courtroom. When Mr. Davies took the stand, he attempted to maintain his composure, adhering to the firm's narrative of restructuring. But under Ms. Reed's relentless cross-examination, his carefully constructed facade began to crack. Ms. Reed presented emails where Mr. Davies had praised my work effusively just weeks before my termination, directly contradicting his claims of my skill set not aligning. The inconsistencies became glaringly apparent. Then, she unveiled a series of internal communications, anonymously leaked to us, revealing discussions among senior partners about diversifying the firm's image while simultaneously expressing concerns about my cultural fit. The coded language was unmistakable. The most damning evidence came from a recorded phone call, inadvertently captured, where Mr. Davies, speaking to another partner, explicitly stated his preference for a less assertive and more traditional candidate for the senior counsel role, making thinly veiled references to my race. A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom as the recording played, Mr. Davies' voice betraying his true intentions. His face drained of color, his smug expression replaced by one of utter shock and humiliation. His plan was unraveling before everyone's eyes. The media, present in full force, immediately seized upon the revelation. News outlets began flashing headlines about racial discrimination at Sterling Finch, tarnishing the firm's prestigious image in real time. The managing partners of Sterling Finch, who had initially dismissed my claims, now looked visibly shaken. The public backlash was swift and severe, threatening their reputation and their client base. Mr. Davies' carefully cultivated image as a fair and astute leader shattered. His career, built on a foundation of hidden prejudice, was collapsing under the weight of his own words and actions. The public saw him for who he truly was. His attorney frantically requested a recess, but the damage was done. The truth was out, exposed for the world to see, and there was no putting the genie back in the bottle. Justice was beginning to bloom in the ashes of betrayal. The firm, facing immense public pressure and potential financial ruin from a looming lawsuit, was forced to take drastic action. They issued a public apology, acknowledging serious lapses in judgment and announcing an internal investigation. Within days, Mr. Davies was publicly terminated from Sterling Finch, his career in tatters. His plan to quietly dismiss me and promote someone else had not only failed but had spectacularly backfired, costing him everything. I sat in the courtroom, watching his downfall, not with vengeance, but with a profound sense of vindication. My voice had been heard, my truth acknowledged, and justice, in its own powerful way, had prevailed. The public unraveling of Mr. Davies' discriminatory actions marked not an end, but a powerful new beginning for me. The firm, eager to mitigate further damage, offered a substantial settlement, which I accepted, not just for the compensation, but as an acknowledgement of their wrongdoing. More importantly, Sterling Finch issued a formal, public apology to me, acknowledging the racial discrimination I had endured. This public vindication was far more valuable than any monetary sum, restoring my dignity and reputation. The story of my courageous stand against injustice quickly spread, turning me into an unexpected symbol of resilience and integrity within the legal community. My phone began ringing with offers from other prestigious firms, eager to recruit someone with my talent and moral fortitude. After careful consideration, I decided to take a different path. Inspired by Ms. Reed's unwavering commitment to justice, I joined a boutique civil rights law firm, dedicating my expertise to advocating for others who had faced similar discrimination. It felt like coming home. My new role allowed me to combine my legal acumen with my passion for social justice, creating a career that was deeply fulfilling. I was no longer just practicing law. I was actively shaping a more equitable future. I also became a sought-after speaker, sharing my story at conferences and universities, empowering others to recognize and challenge discrimination in their own lives. My message resonated deeply, inspiring countless individuals to find their voice. I established a mentorship program for young Black women entering the legal profession, providing them with the guidance and support I had sometimes lacked. I wanted to ensure that their paths were a little smoother, their voices a little louder. My personal life also flourished. I reconnected with friends, spent more quality time with my family, and found joy in pursuits outside of work. The weight of the past had lifted, allowing me to embrace life with renewed vigor. Sarah, my brave former colleague, became a lifelong friend, a testament to the power of solidarity and integrity. Our bond, forged in adversity, was a constant reminder that good people exist, even in challenging environments. My success was not merely professional, it was a profound personal triumph. I had transformed a moment of deep betrayal into a catalyst for growth, proving that my worth was never defined by someone else's prejudice. Mr. Davies' career was effectively over, his reputation irrevocably tarnished. His plan to silence me had, instead, amplified my voice and exposed his own failings to the world. Justice, indeed, had its own way of backfiring. I often reflect on that pivotal moment in Mr. Davies' office, the shock and pain of his words. But now, I see it as the moment my true path began, a path forged in resilience and illuminated by purpose. My story is a testament to the fact that even in the face of blatant injustice, one person's courage can spark a public reckoning and pave the way for a more just future. My experience became my greatest strength. I am Simone, a lawyer, an advocate, and a survivor. My manager fired me for being black, but his plan backfired publicly, and in doing so, it set me free to build a life of purpose, power, and unwavering authenticity. My journey continues, fueled by the conviction that every challenge is an opportunity for growth, and every setback a stepping stone to greater triumphs. I am living proof that resilience can turn pain into power,